In a stunning turn of events, India abstains from the UN vote accusing Israel of war crimes, leaving the global community in disbelief. Let's delve deeper into the heart of this matter. The United Nations Human Rights Council recently adopted a resolution. This resolution, laden with grave concern, calls for Israel to be held accountable for potential war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. It's a serious charge, one that shakes the very foundations of international law and human rights. But here's where the plot thickens. Among the nations of the world, 13 decided to abstain from voting on this resolution. And among these 13, there was one country whose abstention raised eyebrows worldwide. Yes, you guessed it, it was India. India, with its rich history of non-alignment and a general policy of non-interference in the internal affairs of other nations, has traditionally maintained a careful and balanced stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This abstention, however, has added a new twist in the tale. It's not just about the abstention. It's about a country that has, over the years, carefully navigated the complex waters of international politics. It's about a country that has traditionally been a strong voice for the rights of the Palestinian people. Yet, in this instance, India chose to abstain, aligning with its traditional stance on resolutions regarding human rights situations in occupied Palestinian territory. And so, the world watches, baffled and intrigued, as India, a country known for its principled stands on human rights issues, refrains from pointing a finger at Israel. This abstention, while in line with India's past approach, has sent ripples across the globe, sparking discussions and debates on India's stance and its implications. The abstention by India has triggered a wave of reactions worldwide, making it a significant event in international relations. India's decision to abstain from the vote has many layers to it, warranting a closer look. This abstention was not a random act. It's rooted in India's traditional stance on resolutions regarding the human rights situation in occupied Palestinian territory. India's diplomatic relations with Israel and Palestine have always been a balancing act. Over the years, India has managed to maintain cordial relations with both countries, despite their ongoing conflict. The abstention can be seen as part of this delicate diplomatic dance. The resolution that India abstained from voting on was a loaded one. It called for an arms embargo on Israel and urged other countries to cease the sale of arms to Israel. This is a strong statement, a call for action that seeks to directly impact Israel's military capabilities. The resolution expressed grave concern over human rights violations and violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza, pointing a finger directly at Israel. But it's important to understand that this resolution, despite its strong language, is not legally binding. It cannot force any country to enforce an arms embargo on Israel, or to stop selling arms to Israel. Its power lies in its symbolism, in the diplomatic pressure it aims to put on Israel. Voting for this resolution is a way of saying, we condemn these actions and we want the world to know. India's decision to abstain from such a vote therefore sends a message. It's a way of saying, we see what's happening, but we're choosing not to take a stand. It's a way of maintaining diplomatic relations without getting caught in the crossfire. It's a way of navigating the complex world of international politics. India's abstention, thus, is not an isolated event, but is tied to a larger narrative of international diplomacy and strategic relations. India's abstention has stirred up a storm of reactions and opened up a plethora of implications. From the hallowed halls of the United Nations to the bustling streets of global capitals, the shock and disagreement were palpable. Countries that traditionally align with India's stance on international affairs found themselves at odds with this unexpected move. The ripples of this abstention were felt far and wide, painting a vivid picture of the complexities of global diplomacy. Israel, in the eye of the storm, didn't hold back in its criticism of the resolution and the Human Rights Council. The country accused the council of abandoning the Israeli people, adding a layer of tension to an already fraught situation. The resolution, while not legally binding, was seen by Israel as a diplomatic assault, adding fuel to the fire of their discontent. Turning our lens to India, the implications of this abstention on its international relations and standing in the global community are profound. The abstention, in line with India's traditional stance on past resolutions regarding the human rights situation in occupied Palestinian territory, was a clear message. It was a signal of India's unwillingness to be swayed by international pressure, reaffirming its commitment to its own foreign policy principles. However, this move could also be seen as a strategic chess play by India. By abstaining, India has managed to maintain a delicate balance between its relations with Israel and its long-held support for the Palestinian cause. It's a tightrope walk, one that requires skill, diplomacy, and a keen understanding of the geopolitical landscape. The question that remains, however, is how this abstention will impact India's future diplomatic maneuvers. Will it strengthen India's position on the global stage, or will it isolate them further? Only time will tell. As the dust settles on this surprising event, the world watches closely to see the long-term effects of India's abstention on the intricate web of international relations. In the aftermath of India's abstention, the world is left to ponder the ramifications of this move. As we delve into the potential outcomes, we must consider the complexities of the international stage. Could this abstention be a turning point for India's foreign policy, marking a shift towards a more nuanced approach to international diplomacy? Or is it merely a one-off event, a momentary departure from tradition? Analysts suggest that this could be an indication of India's rising confidence on the global stage, a sign of its growing political maturity. Others, however, warn of potential backlash, particularly from countries that expected India's support. Meanwhile, Israel and Palestine are likely to watch India's future moves with keen interest. A shift in India's stance could impact the dynamics of the Israel-Palestine conflict, adding a new dimension to the age-old dispute. On the other hand, India's abstention could also be seen as a strategic move to maintain a balance in its relations with both Israel and Palestine. All these conjectures point to one thing: the world of international diplomacy is a complex and constantly shifting landscape. And as we continue to navigate this complex web, we are reminded once again of the power of a single abstention to shake up the status quo. Stay tuned as we continue to bring you updates on this developing story.